Did you know that procrastination isn't because of laziness? It's something deeper in your subconscious. Head over to doquiz.com, that's DOQUIZ.com, and take this quick 3-minute quiz to find out which of the 6 procrastination types you are so you can unlock the keys to your success.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast. I'm your host, Joel Brown, and I'm here today with Bruce De Silva, author of Wisdom in Action. Bruce and I were just talking about the effects of porn and talking about how our brains are so distracted, how we're destroying our creativity, how we are losing focus in this time. And if you are addicted to success and you want to be able to create success in your business and in your life, you've got to be able to stay on track. And, many men I know struggle with this. I personally had struggles with it many years ago. I was able to put that crazy animal back in the cage and get a hold of it, and it helped me to achieve more success and have more time to focus on my romantic relationship and my family time and hang out with my friends and all that other stuff. So Bruce is a philosopher and coach and also author. Get your hands on his book, Wisdom in Action. It's out February 2024. Bruce, thanks for jumping on the podcast, man.
Hey, man, happy to do it again. We were riffing, so this is good.
Yeah. We were talking about AI, and we were talking about the Matrix, and we were talking about how to overcome, the pressures of the world and how to be able to get more decisive. And then when you started speaking about porn, I was like, hey, wait, we need this on the Addicted to Success podcast. So what are your thoughts on this? Because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening, people that are aspiring entrepreneurs, and it's a big struggle that a lot of people don't talk about. And women are also affected. It's not just men. A lot of men will say, okay, yeah, I do watch porn. Not so many women, but women are affected by this as a ripple effect from either their male partner or male role models in their life and the way that they, treat them. So what are your thoughts?
Where to begin? I think a great place to begin would be with a very powerful quote by a philosopher, Alain de Botton. Mm-hmm. He says, "Porn is a poor substitute for the soulful fulfillment of real human connection. It offers a mirage of intimacy and excitation, yet leaves its audience in a desert of isolation and disconnection."
Yeah, makes sense.
At its root, what we're really looking to do is we're looking to connect. We're looking to find ways to have our energy be however you want to describe it, be released, be transferred, be connected, whatever it is. The danger is, even as an entrepreneur, think about it like this. You need to have the dedication, you need to have the grit, you have to have that will to get from where you are to where you want to go. Now, the challenge is that when you're watching porn, what it does is it essentially usurps the desire to actually go out and create. Yeah, that's the big problem people have. Even in the morning, I know of people who they postpone having sexual activities with their partner in the morning because it's just an impediment in their mind as to having their energies centered. That's another topic.
So it affects your willpower? Is that what you're saying?
It affects your willpower because if we think about our animal brain, what it does is it gives you a reward with no effort. And when you do that, you create a feedback loop that says, hey, I don't actually need to go out and meet a partner. I don't need to go speak to my wife when we have conflict and resolve it, or my husband, rather. I don't need to go do these things, and I can still get that fulfillment. I can still fulfill my needs. And the challenge is, and I've broken this down as to why modern pornography is so dangerous and what it's actually done to us. It's called the AAA. So people who drive in the States, they know AAA. You get a flat tire, AAA is going to come and save you. That's the great AAA. This AAA is the one that you really do not want. And the way we break it down is porn has become accessible, affordable, and anonymous. Let's break that down. Porn has become accessible. How did we used to access these images, overall pornography videos, is we needed to go to the store. We needed to go see a film. We needed to go out of our way. We need to put effort into getting access. Now you have a smartphone, you have a laptop, you can drive down most highways and you're going to see all these images there. That's the accessible part. Affordable, if you have a Wi-Fi connection, you literally have access to pornography. It's become more affordable.
Even data on your phone too, not even Wi-Fi, data. You could be anywhere.
Anywhere you can be. And the final one is anonymous. And this is the one that actually creates the biggest challenge to overcome, is that when you watch porn, now that we have the access to watch it on our cell phones, if you have a party and people come to your house, a family party, Thanksgiving, whatever, everyone comes, cool, hey, all right, they leave. You don't even need to leave your house. You can just be in the corner of your bedroom and you can be there watching pornography, because now no one knows you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So that form of it being accessible, affordable, and anonymous is a recipe for you to operate without restraint, operate without the fear that people are going to see you. And what I found as a way to navigate this is fear can only push you so far, but it's really faith that you believe that you can circumnavigate this. I would call it a hydra. It's a hydra, just consumes you. It's all powerful.
Yeah.
These 3 A's, it affects the ability for people to be entrepreneurial if you're looking to actually discipline yourself. Because way back in the day, in our hunter-gatherer days, if you wanted to gather resources, if you wanted to find a mate, you had to put in effort.
Yeah.
If you get reward with no effort, there is a big disconnect, because your brain is thinking, okay, I don't need to put myself out on the line. I don't need to approach that person. I don't need to fear social rejection.
Right.
When I don't need to do that, I could just go on my phone. Wait, why would I go out, get rejected by my peers, where everybody sees me get rejected, and now I'm a social outcast? And as we know in modern society, it's this, your social currency, your social capital is so valuable. Yeah. Why would I risk that? Why would I risk finding a partner, getting separated? She goes in the news, or he goes in the news, goes in our community, says something, and now my reputation is destroyed, when I can just go on my phone, have full selection with no rejection.
Right. So it's sort of like, hey, I don't like the feeling of rejection when I ask somebody out or to sleep with me, because I make that mean, because we're meaning machines, right? I make that mean I'm not good enough. But here's what I often think about. When you're sitting in front of a screen watching porn and you do your thing, and then after the fact, a lot of people have shame and guilt anyway, feeling worse than not good enough. Now they feel so much shame of like, I am not enough for sure, because I had to try and get my rocks off on this, which I know is not even courageous, because somebody doesn't even need to reject me for me to be able to observe them and, you know, me get excited over this. And it perpetuates this like shame cycle, right? And I'm not shaming anybody that does that. We've all watched porn, I'm sure.
I've watched porn as well. I wish I didn't, but I did.
Yeah, yes. and so it starts distorting and warping our sense of what reward is, as you were saying. I love that. So, okay, what about people that don't watch porn, but they just masturbate, self-pleasure? Is that as damaging? What if you're imagining it in your mind? Like, is it less damaging? What's the ramifications there?
I mean, that's a great question. I actually am not so sure where we could even go with that, aside from the idea of the body self-regulates. I think that's something that people forget. So, not that I'm advocating for this, but there are people who do have nocturnal emission, which is another way to say that they have wet dreams. And the body is going to find a way to adapt. So, yeah, we got to pick the lesser of two evils, I would say then, yeah, comparatively to watching pornography, you're not doing as much damage, I would say, from that. Because again, with pornography, you are getting reward without effort. And if you keep building that, what happens when life gets tough? Here's what happens. What happens if your phone dies, you don't have money for internet, you don't have cable? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to access these resources, right? So our dependency on a substitute, and we can even think about it as fast food. Porn is to intimacy what fast food is to health.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to break it down.
Junk food for the brain.
Junk food for the brain.
For the nervous system.
For the soul, the spirit. So, yeah, it's definitely different. If you're masturbating and you're doing your own thing, yeah, that's fine. My belief is go out, we're social creatures, put yourself on the line, find a partner. Because, and this is a frame I use a lot, is every time you watch porn, I'll speak up from a guy's perspective. I know there are also women listening. From a man's perspective, is every time you watch porn, you are robbing a woman of the potential opportunity to at least find companionship and intimacy with you. And I don't believe your listeners are selfish. And if we don't want to adopt the identity of being selfish in the negative way, then we have to be very conscientious to not act in a way that is selfish. By you doing this, great. You only care about yourself. No, I don't. Yes, you do. There are people who need you to not be the guy that watches porn, that goes out and is that chivalrous man, that masculine man who connects with them. From a woman's perspective, you want that person to approach you. For a lot of women, it's actually social, it's quite tough. Sometimes it's social damage to go out to approach a guy in a public setting or amongst your peers, because that's predominantly an act that a man would do. Of course, we can be flexible. It's robbing both of us of what we actually want. So we want intimacy, but if we do that through the drive-through, we're going to end up getting what we get from the fast food we put in our bodies.
Yeah. Amen to that. Okay, you talked a little bit about the nervous system, right? Well, you actually said regulation.
Yeah.
I was coaching somebody a little while ago, and they said that they would watch porn and masturbate before bed so they could sleep at night. Do you think that this is happening often because people don't know how to regulate their nervous systems? Or do you think it's something else is going on that's making people more addicted to just watching it? Is it because they just feel lonely and they don't want to get rejected, or more the nervous system thing?
Yeah, so I actually read something. That's a great question there, because I read something about a man. He passed away in Greece, and he was recorded as having never seen a woman in his life. It's a study. He was a monk or something. He lived in Greece, never saw a woman in his life. Now, how much of our expectation of connection with others is societal versus primal? And those, it's the whole culture, what do they call it?
Nature versus
nurture aspect, right? So it's that whole thing of saying, okay, am I doing this before bed because I actually need to do it, or because I want to, or it's become a habit.
Right.
You do an act once, becomes a habit. Guess what? You're tired, you can go for a run. It just comes down, if you're an entrepreneur and you're serious, because there are people who talk and there are people who walk, and I'm looking at Jordan on the wall, he's flying, right? Michael Jordan on the wall, he's flying. Because the idea is you can say what you want, you can do what you want, or you can embody what you want. When you adopt the identity of, hey, I am this person, I am, like they said in the Bible, I am. To Moses, was it? He said that? That the Lord spoke?
Yeah.
Was it Moses? And I may be misspeaking, so please, just with the green. The idea that we need to embody what we want to do, because if we do not adopt the identity, our actions are going to be skewed. The lack of clarity of intent and of purpose. Doing it before bed, I would just do some exercise. I would read. And if you're fortunate enough, when you're married, have a partner, create something beautiful. Right.
So yeah, identity plays a big part in it. I know in the conversation you and I were having before, it's sort of like the smoker. I haven't smoked for whatever 200 something days.
I haven't beat my meat.
Like you're counting. Yeah. So you're still, it's sort of like you're still holding on to the fact that you have smoking as a habit at somewhere in your, mindset. But when you're like, I no longer smoke, it's sort of like an endpoint to it. It's like, hey, I no longer smoke. That's not me anymore, right? It's one of the best ways to create habit or habitual change, I would say. So yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I thought about too is that when I stopped watching porn and really made a decision, I remember like a couple of my friends were sharing that they were just like, whatever, I watch it. Like it was sort of like blasé. And I think because they haven't really studied deeply into the effects of it, and they didn't see the sort of pros and cons of all of it and weighed it up. I sort of like the challenge of the fact that I was one of my friends in the group that decided to not be like that. It sort of made me feel like, yo, I'm more disciplined than my friends. And I think guys have this, right? We have this competitive nature. Oh, yeah. So I started looking at it more as a game of like, hey, where can I show up stronger in my life than the people around me so I can improve even more? And it's like a sort of healthy competition mindset. So when I started shifting my identity of, hey, I'm not going to be this guy, I'm more disciplined than that. It's like I heard a guy say, when you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, it's a simple act. Maybe it takes you like 2 or 3 minutes, but when you leave the room, you know you're the person that made the bed. It's like the discipline leaks into other parts of your life. And so I started thinking about that with porn. I was like, hey, I challenged myself. Can I go for 3 months without watching it? And let's say that is the case because I'm really committed to this new identity. How else can it benefit my life? What would be the ripple effect of that? And I started stacking benefits in my mind. It'd make me more attractive as a man because I would have genuine confidence. It would make me feel a lot better about myself. I'd have more energy for the gym. I'd have more energy within my body to be able to cultivate and go to growing my muscles. I would be able to speak with conviction and certainty when I speak with my coaching clients that I'm somebody that has self-control and discipline. I'm also abiding by God calling me to raise up to a higher standard of having more self-control. Have you ever thought about this as well from that perspective of staying disciplined and the identity of that?
I love what you said that it leaks into other areas. The same thing for me. It's more in the morning. Let's say I go to the gym, I do my workout. I don't even check my phone until I'm finished. Or social media rather. I'm building that habit and it leaks into other areas. Wait a second, I'm disciplined. What I wanted to ask you about earlier was the idea that you make this decision and it's not necessarily, I believe it was the other guy who said it, but it wasn't a New Year's resolution, it was a revolution. A similar aspect, right? That you mentioned that you don't wait for the new year to come because you make a decision at that point. Decide in Latin means to cut off from. You mentioned a little bit about that. That blew me away.
I think Russell Brand said that. Hey, recently you're sitting in an ice bath saying like it's not it's a New Year's revolution.
I didn't hear that. Oh, that's good. I mean,
your question?
Well, how do you find a way to really embody that and not wait for a moment? Because you said you created this 3-month challenge. I'm assuming that even before you had that 3-month challenge, you said, you know what? I'm not someone who's going to watch porn. That is not me. I want to be the leader for my friends. I want to be in the competition aspect.
Well, yeah, that's great. The way I viewed it is, hey, I haven't done this before. What would my life look like if I did do this, right? It was more like, hey, I'm really curious. I get curious in life. That's where I guess that spirit of entrepreneurship activates at a higher level for me, especially with business. I get curious. Hey, we've never gone this far before. We've never tested this in a campaign before. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I know there's room for failure. I know that I can make mistakes. And it was the same with my identity around not looking at porn, right? It was like, hey, I know that maybe I could trip up with it. I'm going in with like trying to not negotiate with myself on this. I even had a moment with my wife where I actually, and this is, man, I'm going really vulnerable.
Let's get it, man. I appreciate you getting vulnerable.
Thank you, bro. Yeah. And I went and opened up a porn site, right? And this was like maybe about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, right? And I haven't really sat down and watched porn for years properly and gone like, oh man, it's this like everyday thing. And so I opened it up and I started scrolling through and I'm seeing it all, and you're straight away getting the visual hits of everything, and it looks gnarly, bro. Like the stuff that people are sharing now, because I don't
it's very
look at it, like I haven't looked at it for a long time. It's like, whoa, what the hell? This is getting more savage, more instinctual, more like in your face, and then I had this wrestle that started to come in, this tug of war. Am I going to click on this and watch this? And then it's like the excitement of like, oh, this could be fun. This could be, all the stuff that comes up for every human being when you have that possibility of a big dopamine hit, the rush, right? The adrenaline starts to come in. And then I started thinking, nah, man, but this isn't me. Like, how am I going to feel at the end of this? I'm just going to feel shame. I started to sort of wrestle with myself, right? And I closed it off. The next thing I did is I went straight down to my wife and I told her I had to look at a porn site. She's like, what? And she's like, why are you telling me? And I'm like, well, I want to be held accountable, right? And she's like, are you telling like a white lie? Are you kind of saying it as like, so you don't feel as bad? And I'm like, no. I said, she goes, did you watch the whole thing? And I go, no, I didn't watch the whole thing. I said, no, I closed it off. And she's like, why did you do it? And I said, I just wanted to win. Yeah, and it's crazy because that whole week I felt like in business things weren't working well. Like I just wasn't weren't getting like the sales that I usually get.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, right? And I feel like I was coming out of momentum. I was experiencing grief as well because we had lost our baby daughter, 2 weeks before delivery, and held her in our arms. And like, I went through that whole experience about 4 months before that. And it's not to use it as an excuse. I was just like, man, I just wanted to win. Right. And so I've had to learn just in that. I wanted to be held accountable. I told my wife, and it wasn't easy, bro. I was scared to tell her. But being honest with my wife and not betraying her, and some guys might hear this and go, that's not betrayal, watching porn. To me, it is.
Oh, 100%.
Right. and so it's like lusting after other women, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to do that. It was very scary, but on the back end of it, it helped me to make sure I didn't go back into that loop again, right? Even if you crack the door open a little bit and go into it, it's making sure I don't go back into it again. And she might not have liked to hear that, but it did help to be able to not go into it, because if I was to open it up again, I have to think about that time I had to tell my wife, right? No one told me I had to. Maybe Holy Spirit in me told me, yo, you should go be honest with your wife about this. Some guys might not have that on their conscience, but I also believe that it's part of the identity. I feel like, no, God's holding me to a higher standard, and I like to have higher standards within my own practice and my business. And even though, I didn't feel like I had to win, I don't always have to win every single day.
Where do you go when you don't win? I think that's such a great question from that, because also what you're saying is
coffee or chocolate.
Chocolate or some cookies. I mean, some guys, think about what we're talking about porn here, right? For some guys, it may be alcohol, or for some people, for whatever it is, drugs, anything that is taking you away. Where do we go when we just want to win? That could even be the idea there. Where do we go? Yeah. Where do you go to fill your needs? Because at that moment, you may have had the need to feel significant because if nothing's going your way, you had that incredibly challenging experience with your daughter. You had the incredible challenging ongoing after aspect of that with business, everything. Where do you go when you don't win?
Yo, and my wife loves me, man, and she's amazing, and we have great communication, and there's no problems. You know what I mean? So it was more about me, bro. It was me going, wait a minute, I'm slipping here. My actions aren't matching the identity of who I desire to really line up with. My self-concept is in dissonance with my actions, what it could be.
You're right. And it's, as we know, the strongest need in the human condition, personality, is to remain consistent with how we define ourselves.
Yep.
So that's why you probably felt that so quick. You open up this website. Oh, that's not who I am. Whoa. That's not who I am. I don't do that. Okay, but that's not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's a separating, man.
That's powerful. Be honest with ourselves too, bro. That's the thing I've learned, like in many different areas of my life, and that's why I decided to be honest. Even when I coach my clients, I'm like, yo, the more honest you can be with yourself, the more honest you can be with me, and then we can really get to the meat of what's going on here too. We can get to the core.
I want to add to that it's the idea of, and I learned this recently, it's someone who is struggling with their weight. If they adopt the identity of saying, yes, I am fun size, okay, sure, but you're also diabetic and your blood pressure's high and you may not make it in a few months. And I've had some weight. When I was younger, I used to be a little bit chubby. And it's just the idea that if we're not honest with ourselves, how do we know where we are? If you don't know where you are, how do you know where you're going to go or how to even get there?
Yeah.
We can't know it.
We can't pretend. At some point, you can't pretend anymore.
This is great in relationships. Also, probably why some people can end up going to porn. If you meet someone, let's say a girl meets a guy. The girl meets this guy. She really likes him. But she realizes, I have to tweak my personality a little bit so he can like me a little more. Cool. Great. You get rewarded for that behavior. And then what do you start to think? Okay, cool. If I keep doing this, who I'm not, I'll keep getting what I want. Great. But no act can go on forever. It will be revealed who you really are in a time of stress when you're not paying attention. And that's the disconnect that happens, is when you pretend at the beginning, you then need to pretend up until the end.
Yeah.
because there will be an end.
Yeah.
If you're not living authentically in congruence with who you say you are, that's what happens. Then you turn to porn. If you say, I am not this person who watches porn, and I think it's a challenge too, instead of I am not, saying I am someone. Let's gravitate towards that.
Like, I am a more disciplined person.
I'm a disciplined person.
Somebody that does not get distracted, or I am someone that stays in creation more often. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course, these are semantics, but it does play a part on the RAS, the reticular activating system.
Right. So you focus on the positive outcome rather than like, I am not this, I don't do this. It's
exactly what it is. And exactly to that point is the negative, quote, I put that in parentheses because nothing's really negative. It depends how we view it, right? As Shakespeare, he talked about nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
I can think of some things that are negative.
Okay. Yes, of course, 100%. Things are negative. And it actually reminds me of Viktor Frankl. And of course, tragedy is tragedy, hands down, no doubt about that. There's wars in the Middle East, there's conflict in Russia and Ukraine, all these things are happening in the world, there's people dying down the street. Those are not blessings. That is not. I think we had to understand that most of what we call problems are actually what's waiting for us to make progress.
Right. It's kind of like Nelson Mandela says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. Right.
Love it.
And that's what it is. It's just like, okay, we could take an L and embrace the fact that there was something along the line that we get to course correct on, and we take the lesson from it and keep it moving forward. Yeah, it's a growth opportunity.
It's a growth opportunity, and reminds me of that book that we mentioned briefly of Psycho-Cybernetics.
Oh, yeah.
Maxwell Maltz, that he has this incredible illustration that if there's a missile being launched, let's say a torpedo, and then you have a missile that's going to counter it. When you fire it, the missile doesn't think, oh, I'm off course, oh, I'm a failure, let me stop. No. Well, the missile doesn't think. What the missile does is it doesn't necessarily fail. It just learns that it needs to pivot into the next position.
Right.
Because it's a program. If we're viewing it as a failure, there are even studies that have this when people, they don't do well in something and they say, I am a failure. I failed that test. I'm a failure. You are going to start behaving in a way that's going to be in alignment with that.
Right.
So how do we view it as a growth opportunity? That's a very big challenge. And when it comes to porn, reward yourself. We have to reward ourselves for stop watching porn. And when you interact with someone, have accountability partners. Make the commitment. I mean, even for listeners, I just really got to paint this picture is you've already watched porn up until this point, if you're still watching it. So you've already lived that life. Why not try a different life? It's at your fingertips. You've already done what got you here. And are you happy? Are you connected? Are you together? Do you have honesty? Do you have transparency? Are you succeeding in your business? I would challenge anybody, stop watching porn for 2 weeks. And every time you would have watched porn, invest in yourself. And then let's see where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have a reward system. So you know there's something else on the other side of it, for sure. What do you think of the no FAP challenge?
No FAP, that's
like no masturbation. It's just like semen retention, sexual transmutation or something like that.
I've never heard sexual transmutation, but that is interesting.
Like, sort of like holding back from
the release and everything like that. So there's a couple points there that are quite accurate. So even the no FAP, great. Have a month where you don't FAP. Awesome. I'm for it. Let's find a way that after you do that, reward yourself each day, create the identity you want to build, and ask yourself why. No FAP is excellent. Hopefully we continue that. And the semen retention aspect, that is very vital, right? So people think I need to release semen so that I can release energy, and it is healthy for your colon, and there are benefits 100%. Boxers or people before sports days, they actually retain their semen because it actually does elevate levels of testosterone and performance.
Right.
They literally do this. Mayweather does this all the time. It's ways that you retain a form of energy, because people don't understand this, is even if we look at the word sex, S-E-X, sexual energy exchange. It's a fun little acronym, but the idea is quite illustrative that you are exchanging energy when you have a sexual relation with someone, and also when you release semen. Up until no point were people masturbating the same way we are now to pixels on a screen. This is a challenge, and I'll say this, when I was coaching guys to stop watching porn, that was very helpful, and how I also stopped was every time you're going to go watch porn and you're going to go in your bedroom, do your thing, just imagine that there's a camera in the corner and you're looking at yourself with your underwear around your ankles, you sitting in bed with a little 3x6 metal device showing a light to your eyes, and you're using your hand to masturbate. Just envision what it looks like you doing that. You probably won't watch porn again.
Oh yeah, imagine someone's camera is hacked on their phone, and there's
a Black Mirror episode about
actually
this.
Watching themselves like with their I don't know if you've ever done this where you've been laying down and you open up your phone, you got that little sort of
double chin
fold under your chin, the double chin.
Triple chin for me
of yourself, just seeing your face, oh yeah, that's me. Imagine seeing videos like that and going, oh gosh, that's what I look like watching porn.
And that's exactly what it is. That's what we look like. There was an episode of Black Mirror which it talked about that, and the guy, he's caught watching child pornography. It's absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely abhorrent, and his phone gets hacked, and the guy says, look, I have the information if you're doing this. You need to do these tasks or else I'll release it. I'll just spoil the episode. What he ends up doing, the guy who basically was blackmailing him had him do all these things. He even had him fight another person who was also watching child pornography. And then they went into a forest. They had a fight to the death. And the guy went out and he said, okay, look, I did it. I'm good now. And he goes, too bad. And he also released the footage, and his entire reputation, everybody knew him, said, you're the guy that watched child pornography.
Wow.
So there's no way of escaping it, because people believe, and I learned this from Jordan Peterson, that you can do something without consequence. No. The bill will always come, and you will pay that bill. Hey, I watched porn. Yeah, it was anonymous. Nobody saw me. I didn't pay anything. It was affordable. Yeah, I just got on my phone. It was accessible. Really? Really? No, you know who knows? God knows. Your subconscious knows. Your interactions with people, they may not know it, but they feel something going on there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. God knows, okay, but also I think God, in His interest for us, because He loves us, is like, hey, yeah, I know, and the reason why I want you to be held to a higher standard, so that you live with a conscience that's more clear, so you're clear-minded and be a person that is virtuous and admirable and centered in who I've created you to be. Right? And I think that's the biggest thing when we're watching porn like that and we're just playing at a lower standard and lower level. We know it, right? Some people will try and beautify it. Oh, it's like everyone should orgasm and all your power is here. You see the whole New Age movement is all about
it's a mess.
Pussy power and all this stuff, and all your magic is in your whatever you want to call it, your hoo-ha. And I'm like, man, what are we doing here? We're just trying to create now justifications to flaunt and amplify something that totally is destroying men, for sure. Women possibly creating a ripple effect there too. But for men, what I do think is it is feminizing men in a way, because men are walking around not confident in who they are anymore. And so when you have a man that's not confident in who he is anymore, he's not going to stand in his masculine strength, because he knows in himself, yeah, I'm not really the dude that can go out there and actually be a solid guy that has the confidence to be able to just speak to a woman directly and have the confidence to tell her if I like her, So yeah, man, it does affect us in society just by that. Not even that, it also affects the way that if you are a father, the way that you treat your kids. I remember someone recently telling me they found out they were having a daughter, right? And when they found out they were having a daughter, because their wife was pregnant, they opened a porn and they saw women, and for the first time they looked at it and went, oh my gosh, all these women are someone's daughter. And he shut it off.
Wow.
So he created a new association as all these women are someone's daughters. And he's like, I don't want to be that dude. That if I start objectifying women and seeing it like this, then how am I going to start treating my young girl in the world? I can't have the permission really to speak into her life powerfully if I know that I'm objectifying other women over here. Right?
Oh my God.
Man, that's
deep,
good.
Man. That's deep. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's congruence. They're out of their congruence.
Yep.
And that's the challenge they have is you want to take someone somewhere, great, but have you even been there?
Yeah. Have you been there yourself? Yeah, you can't take anybody anywhere that you haven't gone yet, right?
You can't, and it's acting. They're pretending to be someone. Again, you can pretend to be someone for a certain amount of time, but down the road, it will come to the surface.
Yeah.
So what happens is a lot of guys who are maybe doing these things, watching a lot of porn. Okay, what happens when their daughter's best friend who you grew up with is now a mature woman? What's going to happen then?
Yeah.
Because you then have, what porn does is it essentially paints an artificial lens on reality. And here's the best way to explain this. If you watch a porn, and let's say that what happens is there's just, for example's sake, there's a guy and a girl, and they're neighbors, and then their hands touch accidentally in the porn, and then from there they start talking, and then from there they start having sex, whatever it is. So life imitates art. And I'm not saying that porn is art necessarily, but the idea that we model the behavior of what we see. So that's why what we see in culture, what we see in film is so important, because it influences our behavior. That's why a lot of the rom-coms are actually doing a lot of damage to men who want to be masculine and women who want to be feminine and actually receive a man. Here's the way to say that is, in rom-coms, right? What do we see? Rom-com, the guy goes for the girl, doesn't work out, or they were dating, it doesn't work out. The guy goes to her house, throws a rock at her window, and has a stereo over his head. People watch it, they think, oh, so romantic. Really? You know what happens? Hey, yeah, 911, we have an emergency. If the police come, you get arrested, now you're on a watch, people are going to...
Psycho!
You're a psycho, right? So we have this illustration that what we see in media and the rom-com is actually propelling us where we want to go, but the challenge there is it's creating an artificial reality.
Yeah.
So we just have to be very conscious of that and understanding that that person could be someone's daughter, or is someone's daughter, not could be. And how would it impact you if that was your daughter?
Bro, I'll tell you what, Hollywood screwed me right up when it came to dating. That movie Hitch.
Oh, no way, Hitch. Yeah. Well, tell me about that movie, because that influenced me a lot.
He went all out to impress the girl, jet skis. And
okay. Eva Mendes.
And he was like trying to surprise her and through everything. And so, not that I consciously took it on, it was subconscious. And I just was like, it reinforced that I had to over deliver to try and win a girl over. And it ruled me, bro, for a long time, until I realized that my anxious relationship attachment style was just literally being amplified even more, because I had this warped sort of Hollywood fantasy of how relationships should be. Even in Disney, like Disney movies, they teach you it's like that, but it's not true, and we get to be centered in who we are and not pour from an empty cup. A lot of people give so much over to the point they have nothing left for themselves, and that's not attractive for anybody. So that's what's happening in like dating in Hollywood. And then you see what's happening in porn. And like sex, even with your partner, right? Like one of the things I've learned as a man, and my wife and I were watching like Esther Perel, and we're learning from like different, sex experts, because we want to like just understand it on a deeper level. And I talk with my friends about this too, that are in long-term relationships, and they're like, okay, the sort of classic line is, oh, now you got married, you got that old ball and chain, it's sort of like your sex life is now coming to an end, right? Like, and when people have kids too and they're not ready for it, oh, there you go, you're done now, like good luck, right? And you watch your single friends and you think maybe they're having the best time of their life, but a lot of the time people are out there just hooking up and having surface level, they're not going deep. What I learned as a man, which is sort of a newer understanding, is that women do like foreplay, man. Like foreplay isn't just using your mouth and using your hands. It's also sitting down and deeply connecting with a woman. And some guys may hear this and be like, oh man, what's this like sissy stuff? That's true, man. Like a woman can be completely turned on and ready for penetration sex, because sex to a woman is more than just penetration. What I learned by watching a lot of porn is sex is just penetration. That foreplay is that, just the foreplay based thing that happens before, but it's not actually sex. And so women end up becoming pretty disappointed on the back end of it if a guy is constantly just going after the woman just to have sex with penetration. She's not pleased. She doesn't feel like she's loved. She doesn't feel like she's with a present man, because he's just trying to jump the gun and go to the end goal. He's trying to be addicted to success, right? Reach the end goal, go for it. And I've had to learn as well that like, when you're with your partner and there is a true connection, the pace is different. It's not just sex. Now it's being present with each other. It's sort of slowing down time and feeling things sensually, not just sexually. Right?
I want to agree.
You don't learn that from porn.
No, porn doesn't teach you that. And one thing I just thought of as you were saying that is go slow in order to go fast. Sometimes it's the idea of fast, not that you want to bypass anything, but you're going slow. I mean, it's all relative, right?
You always learn as success loves speed.
Success
you want to be successful in sex, just go fast.
Yeah, if you just want to go quick, then you just go and do that.
But that's not fun for a woman.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And then after they go
warm up, that's a guy.
They need to warm up.
You're like already ready to rev,
And this is such a great point because guys, we're revved up. I mean, also we're stimulated differently, right? So men are much more visual. They have proof on this, scientific studies they've done, and women love the story aspect of it. Men, we don't need a lot to be aroused, right? So women, for them, it's quite the opposite. And there's an incredible saying that it goes, women fall in love with what they hear and men fall in love with what they see.
Yeah.
And that's why men lie and women wear makeup, right? It's this playful aspect of it. And aside from the external makeup that women wear, what about the internal makeup we all decide to adopt to pretend to be somebody we're not?
Right.
That we believe that we're this person. Okay, let me forego foreplay. Let me forego connection so that I can move forward with what I want. And if you ever go to a relationship or partnership, from my experience, if you go somewhere with the objective to give, that's where you're going to expand. When you go just to get, no chance. Yeah,
there's this sort of take mindset often. It's like, I need to reach the end point. I've had to learn that too, in my romantic life is the experience can be very different for somebody on the other side of it, especially when the pace or even there's a test you can take called the erotic blueprint. You have like sensual, kinky, sexual, shapeshifter, as in you can move into like multiple, and then energetic is another one, right? And we all have a percentage of each one, and we are more dominant in one or two more than the others. Understanding that blueprint is really important. There are some women that need sensual touch. They like the candles or the smells. Not every woman does like that. Some of them like, to be dominated, and some of them like to be like physically grabbed and like energized through like play, right? And I know this is like probably a conversation we didn't expect to go into, but it's great because I think, part of being successful is also understanding every part of yourself, your mindset, your physical, your fitness, your health, your sexual as well. I want to just sort of tie this up to as we get close to the end of this episode. You're a philosopher, so how do we tie philosophy in with understanding where we're at in society with like porn, and also the mindset around how to be successful in this area of overcoming porn and becoming, I guess, successful sexually as well within our sexuality?
It would be effective to break down what philosophy even means first. So it's a Greek term meaning philosophia, and philo means the love of, obsession of, and Sophia means wisdom. It's actually my niece's name. Shout out Sophia. Great name. I actually partially shared that name for her to be named that, but that's another story. And so lover of wisdom, or someone who loves wisdom. And what is wisdom to do? Wisdom in action, part of the book I'm releasing soon, is how do we have wisdom and understanding that can help us navigate the challenges in a modern world? Because what got us to the moon in the 60s isn't what's going to get us to Mars in the 20s. It's not. There's going to be a big shift. For me, with how we can use philosophy to understanding the dynamics with porn, modern society, is looking at it in a way where we're asking more questions that are actually getting us to the end result we want. Because people are watching porn. Why? Because they're bored. Okay, why are they bored? Okay, because they want variety. Okay, cool. You want variety? Find a healthy alternative, a healthy vehicle to get there. People will watch porn because they don't want to be rejected. They want certainty that that when they go on the screen, no one will reject them. How about you reject your desire to not get rejected. How about you accept that rejection? Because no one's rejecting you. They're rejecting their impression of you at that moment. You walk by someone, says, hey, can you sign this paper, $5? No, not important. Hey, can you sign this paper, $100? Okay, sure, maybe. It depends what your preference is. For myself, when I looked into philosophy and how it helped me navigate porn, navigate relationships, was understanding the philosophy of love, the philosophy of intimacy, the philosophy of self. It's understanding that we all have ego, we all have desires, whatever it can be. It all comes down to, why are we doing what we're doing? What do we actually want? And is there another way to get there that doesn't negatively impact the quality of my life?
Right.
And whether you believe in Eastern tradition, you believe in Western tradition, whether you go down the religious route, study what the texts may demonstrate to you, but have your base be your faith. In Christianity, have our base be our faith in Christianity, because the model we adopt of the world is going to create the confines as to how we behave.
Yeah.
And that's what we miss.
Yeah, we need that. We need those standards, right? Yeah, and I'm not big on religion per se. I'm more about relationship with God. But I want to be held to standards. I don't know about you. I really want to, so I can live a high quality life and live out my full potential. As we wrap up, man, real quick, your book is about to come out. It's called Wisdom in Action. Where can we find you online?
Online, so Bruce_Da Silva on Instagram. That's where most of my stuff is at. Also my website, ZeusWithBruce.com. Yeah. I did share about the story with Zeus, but in short, I named it that because I believe, similar to the story of Zeus, is that we all have inner potential and that life may change our circumstances or put us in circumstances we didn't choose. However, with commitment, with discipline, and with the understanding of what we actually want, who we actually can become, and remembering who God designed and created us to be, we can then get to the mountaintop that Zeus got to. And I believe that's what we need to focus on. So ZeusWithBruce.com, connect with me there, email, Instagram, Bruce_Da Silva, and saved by the bell, as they say. But that's really what it comes down to. Okay,
so last question. I always ask this at the end of every podcast. If you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like?
Could I get another minute? No. In short, we'll begin now. Understand that where you were born and how you were born is not the determining factor of where you will end up. Life is guided through the choices we make, the questions we ask, and forgive yourself and others for not knowing everything, because ignorance is not implemented or used through malice, but more so used just from the circumstances. Understanding that the choices we make lead us to where we want to go. We don't know everything, and forgive the ones who didn't do you right and love the ones who do.